Welcome to Leaders Lead Podcast. Are you ready to conquer your challenges and achieve greatness? Join us as we dive into inspirational stories of industry leaders who have overcome adversity and reached new heights. Get ready for electrifying insights and captivating conversations that will ignite your passions for success. This is your go-to show for empowerment, growth, and leadership. Buckle up. Leaders Lead Podcast is here to take you on a transformational ride. Break. We have to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming. I always wanted to say that, but this is Tony Taylor, the host of Leaders Lead Podcast. I'm also the owner of speakuniversity.org, and that is a learning platform where we teach about leadership and most of all, communication. I had a break during the day, so I figured I would take some calls on a LinkedIn audio. We were also streaming on Clubhouse as well. So right when it started getting good, I said, oh man, I should be recording this because it's usually not recorded. And I hit the record button. So we're going to jump into that episode. And my hope is that if you're a person that have a fear of public speaking, or you just want to get better at public speaking, these tips are going to help you. So we're going to dive right into the episode right now. And thank you for listening to the show. I gotta go.
Say that.
Hey man, and I always wanted to hear that. I'm so glad that you said that. What's up, man?
I was really wanting to jump in to add on to Miss Hart because although I'm in a different niche business, I struggled with exactly what she said. I endured it for a little over a decade, and I finally kind of had that epiphany moment where like I need to ask somebody else. And there was a quote that I was given, and I wanted to share with her. I know she's gone, but when she comes back, if you will like it, I hope you'll pass it on to her. And
I'm going to write it down,
man. Everything for me. When it comes to wanting people, for me anyway, on a neurological level, to digest what I'm going to say, because I believe it's the best solution, the best fit. You know, I mean it with every part of my being. The saying goes, seek first to understand in order to be understood. And it's recent. I don't know who came up with that originally, but it's recently been adopted.
Say it one more time.
Seek first to understand in order to be understood.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times I'm in construction. I'm a subcontractor and I specialize in glass. And a lot of times I would do lunch and learns for contractors. And I'd go in and we had the resume, we got our own factory, and I would be saying all this stuff that I know they should want to latch onto. And it was just like, they might as well be yawning in my face. They really didn't give a shit. And after doing this for 10 years and, you know, only by numbers was I able to gain some success, but where I really started to elevate was when I adopted this saying. And what it really means is when I first would get in there, I would articulate to these contractors all the problems that they're seeing through their eyes, which is true empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is seeing the world through someone else's eyes, which does not mean you have to agree or even like the person.
Right.
But when they can hear you articulate the struggles and problems that they're going through, you automatically like connect on a neurological, you're on the same wavelength. And they're like, oh shit, he gets me. And now they're able to digest whatever the, I don't want to say pitch, but solution that you're offering is, or whatever your speech is. I found it to be digested a lot better. I'll give you one example. My mother's a perfect example. My mother is the most stubborn human being on this planet. Like when she gets something in her mind, she digs her feet in so hard that even if she realizes she's wrong, she's going to stand on it just to be right. and I struggled with that for a long time until after the saying. And so I would go up to my mother and I'd be like, you know, we're trying to redesign the showroom. And I know the biggest problem is getting all the subs here on time. And she's like, yeah, That's right. I've been calling and nobody comes. And now I can already feel her body language understand, or she sees that I understand her. And then I'd say, have you thought about maybe we try this? And she said, oh man, that's a great idea. Like she was only willing to come off her original position once she understood someone was listening to her.
Mm.
Because I think what people want to be more than right is they want to be heard.
Mm.
And so for somebody to listen to what you have to say, if you can say something and articulate what you believe is going through their mind, then they're able to let their hair down and kind of like, okay, I get this guy. He understands me. I'm willing to listen to what they're saying. And it's had a profound impact on when I go to these lunch and learns. And I'm speaking from $1.00 standpoint.
Oh, wow. So are you speaking at the Lunch and Learns?
Yeah. I love it. It's like my favorite thing to do.
Wow. That's amazing. So did you struggle with it at first?
Yes. And I'm very vulnerable in telling you this now, to the point where I would get sick in the parking lot before I'd go on. But I knew my intuition told me this is what I need to be doing because this is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what the upside is. But this, like you said earlier, fear, the acronym, I love that. I never heard it, but I also know fear, I think, is the number one overriding decision maker in all of our lives. So unless you're able to push through that, you're never going to get to that pay dirt. But I would literally get sick in the parking lot before I go on. And then, after I did it enough, I feel comfortable, but I wasn't getting the results until I really came across this emotional intelligence path. And that really stuck with me. Seek first, understand in order to be understood.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Would you consider yourself to be an introvert? I'm asking you this for a reason because
I know if you don't mind, you're probably going to kill me for saying this. I see what you're doing based on like a dope chart. You talk to all these people and it seems like there's these two buckets, but I would argue that
yes.
everybody has a respiratory system and everybody has a limbic system, which is your emotional, your neurological emotion, the emotional center. And whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, if somebody can punch that emotional button, they can really be persuaded almost into anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm an extrovert for sure.
Wow. No, I love that. I was going to tell you, which I still think that this book you would get a kick out of this. It's The Introvert's Edge. And that's for anybody else that's listening to this. A really good book that I read. It's about The Introvert's Edge, and it's by Matthew Pollard. And it's about selling for introverts, but it talks exactly about what you're saying right there. And I really think that you'll get a kick out of that book. What do you think you struggle with when it comes to public speaking? What do you still, just because you said that you're pretty experienced, what is it right now that you're struggling with?
And I think, in my humble opinion, in a lot of these soft skills that are really, I think, allow a good public speaker are all perishable. And I think, so being aware and being involved in something like this, what you're doing, is so important. But my biggest thing is the speed in which I talk, because I can get so excited about something that I feel like I'm almost talking ahead of what I'm actually saying. And in my brain, it sounds good, but I've seen enough of it now of my self-recordings, doing selfie videos and stuff, that it can almost cause anxiety on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's probably my number one problem. And in the heat of the moment, I just have a hard time. Like even right now, if I'm trying to slow down, it almost feels like an eternity. But I'm sure it lands better, like I'm certain it lands better. But reminding myself of that in the heat of the moment is by far my number one struggle.
Yeah, Keith, I was just going to tell you, you would be surprised how many people would love to have that higher cadence that you have. I mean, that's perfect. You're in glass sales. I would highly encourage you, brother, to do some video content talking about some of your processes, talking about, whatever it is that you talk about. I know it's not just class, but it's perfect for that kind of content. And I get it. There are certain people, even right now, I get excited just talking about this, and I got to slow myself down because it is a turn off to some people, but just being aware of that and just paying attention to the vibe, in the room, looking at some of the faces. I mean, this is kind of hard to do this in this audio room. Give me a heart or a thumbs down, however you're feeling. If you're jiving with what we're talking about, if this is resonating with you at all, right? And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm getting that some kind of clue, right, to let me know that things are okay, right? And for the people that are listening, that maybe you identify with being an introvert, sometimes you need that to keep going. I've done speeches in front of a few hundred to a couple thousand people, and I'm looking at their faces. I can't tell. I'll ask, are you getting something out of this? And I'll just look at the faces. Let me know what you think about this, right? Because we never know. Just like what Marquita was talking about, we don't know why somebody might look the way that they look or what they might be thinking. If they're listening to you, you have the mic in your hand, chances are you're the subject matter expert, or they wouldn't be listening to you, right? We got 4 people in this room listening to you. We got some folks on Clubhouse listening to us, or wherever else we're at, they're still listening because they like our cadence. This is seeking into them, or they just put the phone down and they're doing something else, but we're here together. I'm here with you. Right. But
your tonality, I do have to say, I want to interrupt. Your tonality is off the Richter scale. It's amazing.
That's music to my ears, man. I'm gonna give you an applause for that. I appreciate that.
Great tonality.
Thanks, man. It's taking some work. When I was a kid, I was high ADHD, and I would just talk so fast. And, I'd be telling my mom, Mama, you should have seen driving down the street, you can't even hear nothing I was saying. And she'd be like, curse word, slow the hell down, boy. I can't understand. And then I would just slow down just so that everybody else can understand me and feel me. And I would almost as a joke to kind of like fuck with her a little bit, but she got it this way when I slow it down. So thank you for saying that. And I just been doing it for years, almost like that awareness piece inside of me, because I can get sometimes a little crazy. So thank you for the affirmation.
Absolutely. And thank you for allowing me to come on your platform. This is really cool.
Of course, man. Anybody else that want to come up, you are welcome. If you got a question or something that I can help you with, I would love to. Even if you got some noise in your background, it is all good. I just want to help some folks today. This is what I do all day, is talk to introverted leaders. A lot of these leaders, they're working in their corporate jobs and they are stuck, right? They don't know why they feel the way that they feel. You heard the last person that I was about to say called in like I'm on the radio, but I guess this is kind of like the radio, right? But she was saying that she did not feel heard. And it's just like, wow, like she actually lives in my community here in Washington State. And I think she's very vocal, and I think that she is heard. There's some initiatives that are kind of still going because of the hard work that she's done for the BIPOC community. There's like several hundred businesses affected by this lady, but she, for whatever reason, does not believe that she's heard. So the imposter syndrome, it is real for everybody. I was looking at some celebrities that have a fear of public speaking, and I noticed that there are quite a few. Some of the best speech writers you ever freaking heard of, like Martin Luther King. He was afraid of public speaking, but the only reason why he really did it was because his daddy did it, and his daddy was a pastor, so he wanted to follow in his footsteps, and that was kind of where his trajectory was, right? And I just started thinking, how cool is that? You know, you got somebody that was born an introvert. He hid behind that, you know, kind of most of his early childhood, but at such a very young age, once he got to that awareness of who he wanted to be as a person, he was able to change that. And he changed that by answering the call to the people, answering to a call to people that desperately needed him, right? So just think about what it is, right? I know it's lunch for a lot of you folks. I'm glad that y'all hanging out with me. But think about what it is that you've been called to do. Just like the example I gave you, Martin, there's Richard Pryor, one of the most famous comedians known to humankind, was afraid of public speaking. There was a documentary that I was watching, and they just showed him kind of on the side of the stage shaking, like the whole time, just shaking. And it's just, they're like, what's wrong, Richard? And they're like, oh, that's Richard, that, you know, Richie, right? Because he was a young man. Oh, Richie Pryor. He gets really intimidated in going on stage to do some public speaking. But there he was, a comedian showing up day after day, night after night, practicing his routines, right? And that's something that I talk a lot about is you know, the routine, right? The routine of public speaking, the routine of not hiding as we like to do, right? I know some people, they don't like that term introvert, but I like it because I feel like it's a call, right? Because we've been told that we're introverts our whole life. We've been told that we're less than our whole life. We felt like we've been less than, some of us, our whole life, right? I'm gonna speak for myself. I've always saw the extroverts getting the jobs, the extroverts getting the pat on the back at work, the extroverts being the cool kids at school, and just kind of like, oh man, how can I be like them? But the older I got, I really started to embrace who I truly was as a person, just like I want you to truly embrace who you are as a person. But the older I got, the more research I'd done, I came to a conclusion. And the conclusion is the people that you're worried about, like judging you, when it all comes down to it, right? Like they're not going to be nowhere in sight when it comes to you failing. If you're worried about them saying something bad about you, who cares? What about the people that are supporting you, the people that are in your community? Ooh. Oh boy. Oh, I get so happy when I get a text message. I just got one from somebody in my community. Hey, I see your live. Are you on Instagram right now? I gotta ask you a question. Like, oh man, I get goosebumps. And the reason that I get goosebumps from that is because like I made a decision a very long time ago that I wasn't gonna hide behind what somebody else thought about me when it came to my purpose, when it came to my goals, my dreams, my aspirations. And the big picture for me is serving people, right? And I know that like if you're listening to this, like you have something that you want to do, and chances are there's a popular belief that you have inside of your head, and that belief is that you can't do it. Like, I want to encourage you, you can do it. You don't need all of these freaking processes that sometimes we create in our heads. Like, oh man, if only I knew how to do this, if only. I want somebody to challenge me on this. I literally have hundreds, if not thousands of messages on LinkedIn of people saying, if only I had this, or if only I had a structure. What's your structure? What's your blueprint? Right? Asking me questions about the podcast and how to get certain numbers and how to turn it into a business. If only I had, right? And if only I had. And let me tell you, I had this moment, and I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I had this moment last year when everything broke. When I say everything, I mean everything was broken. Not me. I'm not talking about me. I broke my leg the year before last. That's another story. But everything was broken. Inside, I had lights falling on TVs inside of my studio. I had the TV where, if you looked into my live broadcast, you could see my logo in the background, because if only I had that, right? So I had tiles falling down in the studio. My Rodecaster, this fancy little thing that I'm talking to y'all on right now that can, right? That does that, right? That had broken. Everything was just broke. My microphone was broken, and I went back to the basics. I was recording my podcast from my cell phone. And lo and behold, that was the time that I got the biggest numbers on my podcast, was when I did that. And yeah, I'm in between, mailing the Rodecaster, the equipment that I had to start my podcast. I was in between, taking that to UPS, but I'm live, still doing my thing, right? So I tell you this, like, not to say like, oh, woe is me, my struggles, my whatever. I'm saying this to tell you that, like, whatever obstacles that you have in front of you, whatever enemy that you have, and I'm talking about the enemy that's in your head, the enemy that tells you that you're not good enough, the enemy that tells you that you need another process, you need another procedure, the enemy that tells you that you're not ready, the enemy that tells you you need more testimonials, the enemy that tells you that you need a new website, the enemy that tells you, like, you don't need it. You have everything you need. You were born with it, and that's you. That's your uniqueness, right? And that's something that, like, I would be such a liar if I told you that it wasn't something that I still struggle with, right? That's a big part of this public speaking when it comes to introverts. You got to have a community. My wife told me all the time, honey, you're doing what? You're giving away what? All the time. She thinks that I'm nuts for the training that I'm giving away right now. But I do it because I love people. I love serving. And the reason she says what she says is because she knows how I was before. She knows what I had to go through in order to learn what I learned, right? And I'm just so inspired to see other people, like, do TED Talks and do things that I could never imagine doing. We got somebody else that just quit their job, and he wanted to be a motivational speaker. He works inside of, oh man, I got people calling me. He works. He worked inside of an hospital. He went to being like a correctional officer, but then all of a sudden, like, he quit his job. So that just really, really, really inspired me, and that's why I do what I do, and that's why I'm telling you what I'm telling you is, like, I struggle with that too, not knowing my worth. And that is one of the biggest things when it comes to us introverts. I have them in my family. I see it. I see it all the time. Some of my friends, CEOs of these big companies, but when they look in the mirror, they don't think that they're good enough. They don't think that their voice matters. They don't think that they're heard. Huh. That's crazy. But on the outside, they're doing this amazing stuff. They're doing this amazing stuff that other people are saying, if only I had what Krista has. If only I had what Keith had. If only I had what Jessica has. Right? There's other people out there that are struggling just like we are, reaching for that next thing. And I just really want to encourage you to not keep reaching for that one thing. I really want to encourage you to grasp on to yourself, who you are, what you bring to the table, because you bring a lot. Oh man, I got a story. Hey, anybody got some questions? Come on up here. I got probably about 5 minutes, and I'm going to get out of here, or at least take a break. But I had some time on my schedule, and I figured I'd come on here and do some coaching. What you got for me? Oh, my brother, you to me. I see you in here. It's good to see you. We're talking about public speaking for introverts. We had some people come in and share their experiences when it comes to meetings, interviews, and presentations. If y'all are anything like me when it comes to that stuff, you're like, oh my God. Oh my God, what are we going to do? It's almost as if it's the worst thing to go through in the world. They say over 77% of the world's population have a fear of public speaking. And most of those folks, they identify introverts as being those people. But I don't agree with that. Right? I want to give you a big claim, something that is contrary to popular belief. And that is, introverts, they can be confident. They can be competent. They can be charismatic speakers when it comes to meetings, interviews, and presentations. I've been doing this research, I would say probably the last 30 years of my life. And just to see things come full circle, not just for me, but for other people, it is freaking amazing. And I've been testing this theory. I've taken it here to school at Evergreen here in Olympia, and just asked them, like, what do y'all think about this? I've been doing this freaking research and this and that, and they're just like, oh, can you teach it to us, right? And it's crazy because this thing that they don't give us in high school, this thing that a lot of us don't necessarily grow up with, is learning how to speak in public, learning how to excel in the situations that I was talking about before. It all boils down to yourself. That's the big secret. And I'm doing a TED Talk on that. So I'm really inspired. I'm really inspired to tell y'all about that. I was actually sitting down and writing it. I looked up at my schedule and I had an appointment that got canceled. And so I figured I'd come on here, do some coaching. So anybody want to come up? Hey, this is Tony Taylor, the host of Leaders Lead the Podcast and also the owner of speakuniversity.org. Let me tell you about our fantastic partners at Holocell Technologies. They are your one-stop shop for IT solutions. When it comes to data security, communications, and privacy, they are on top of the game. Holocell's approach is all about crafting customized white glove solutions that perfectly fit your specific software and use cases, all developed and implemented to the highest absolute standards. It's simple, folks. With Holocell Technologies, you'll get all the data and communication solutions you need without the headache. Give it up to our friends at Holocell Technologies. Have any questions? Oh, we got Krista. What's up, Krista? I was getting ready to get out of here. Hey, what's up, Krista?
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, what are you doing? You're done lurking? I'm like, man, are you really going to come in here and not say nothing?
So I was finishing up with a client, and so I was literally like half listening because I didn't want to miss out. I was half listening, half working, and so I had to jump off for a bit and then pop back on. So I am driving right now, but I love everything that you're saying, and I'm just so giddy about it because as you were talking about deep diving introvert and extrovert, yeah, totally have been going down that rabbit hole this year in a lot of different ways. But the keys that you're talking about of really coming into yourself and yourself being a shell in a lot of ways of what you have not accepted and realized in your own potential. And I've walked through this journey and all of these realizations of like, I just wish I was an extrovert, like one of those people that could just speak articulately on the fly and just sound amazing and command a presence in a room and blah, 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 right? But the more that I have walked through this and going through Speak University and learning and putting myself in the hard places and pushing myself out of my comfort zone, I've realized just more and more how it's not about being a good speaker. Being a good speaker doesn't mean being an extrovert, meaning or it doesn't mean being perfect at what you're about to say and perfectly prepared, all of that. Literally, it all has to do with being passionate about what you're talking about. When you speak with a passion, it doesn't matter whether you totally lose your train of thought, your spaghetti noodle brain takes over and you go off on tangents. Like, people are listening because they're interested in the fact that you are so interested, and if they're relating to you, even more so. But even if they're not like gaining because they already are good at what you're talking about, it doesn't matter, because just the fact that you're speaking with such passion draws attention like no other. And so I've just really learned that as I've tried to practice getting out of my comfort zone, accepting what I am and for everything that I am, and not what I'm not, and not trying to lament what I'm not. So I want to be down to earth. I want to be logical and realistic and whatever. But for every no, there is a yes. So instead of trying to be what I'm not, trying to convince people I am what I'm not, I now realize I'm a dreamer. For every no, there's a yes. And so, no, I'm not down to earth. I'm a dreamer. I dream of a better world where we could create solutions to solve long-term problems, like in a way that is symbiotic and all parties have a piece, and all parties benefit. And so for every no, that everything that I'm not, the flip side is what I am. And so as an extrovert processes externally, the value and the beauty of an introvert is that they process and they take in everything that they're hearing. And as all the extroverts in a room, if you've ever experienced this, all the extroverts in a room are talking, and the introvert is taking it in. That one that doesn't say much, maybe ask questions here or there, might kind of makes a little comment that spurs on more conversation. Then at the end, this person comes up with some diatribe that the entire room falls into silence while listening to, because that person has taken the time to listen more than talk. And as the extroverts process externally, they need to talk
Right.
because they're processing, and the introvert is processing internally. There's no better, there's no worse. It's just the complementary way of looking at things as they each are in their own beauty, and then feeding and leveraging off of that and coming into your own power. And so I used to think, extroverts are outgoing and they have a lot of friends, and I'm shy. I hate being shy. And so instead of thinking as introverts are just this and looked down upon or whatever, and extroverts are all the glory. No, they're both beautiful and amazing. But if you're not leveraging it and realizing it, then who else is going to realize it if you don't even realize it?
Oof.
And so, like, extroverts who process externally and the introvert who processes it internally has nothing to do with quiet or shy or outgoing or a lot of friends or not many friends. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how you draw your energy.
Yes.
An introvert wants to go home on a Friday night and not talk to anybody, probably, because there's nothing that gives them energy like being alone. And an extrovert is the opposite, and there's nothing like gives them energy, but except for being with people, like being with people, not at the same level, right? And so they are complementary. But if we don't see that they're complementary, and then express gratitude every time we say I wish or I want or if only, no, none of that matters. What do you have?
Yeah.
What do you have? What are you? And talk yourself up. Why do you talk your friend up and not yourself? When you talk yourself up in your mind, you empower yourself just like you empower others. Why do we not do it to ourselves? Because we feel like that's arrogant in some way. No, it's not. And so when we really embrace the power that we have by the uniqueness and the individuality and the strengths that we have that literally no one else can bring to the table but us, then you can truly realize that it's better to be a first-rate version of yourself than a second-rate version of someone else.
Yeah. I agree with that. And it's funny. A lot of people, they say, why do you say introvert or extrovert? Don't you think you're leaving people out? And I'm just like, nah. It's because you can't be just one or the other, right? And I don't think it necessarily defines all people either. But just like you said, we draw something from both of those energies. Like, I love this. I love talking to people. I love the fact that there's people listening to us talk, and it makes me feel so good. It brings me so joy. But let me tell you, when I hit the button that says end live stream, I'm going to go.
Exactly. And just like when you're like, all right, come on up here, I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And then when it's over, I'm like, I'm so glad I did it, because I spent 15 minutes thinking about doing it and almost didn't do it. And then he said, I'm going to jump off in 5 minutes. And I was like, Krista Snow, do it.
Dude, thank you for saying that. That worked. I did that on purpose. Oh man, that works. That worked. I did that on purpose. I guess I had talked to you offline, but I've been doing a lot of studying, and I'm grateful. I trash conventional education, but I'm learning so much at my school at Evergreen as far as how the mind works, and nothing is necessarily one, nothing is necessarily all, right? It is what it
Yeah.
is. And I think that that's really important when we're talking about public speaking. You mentioned the fact that you're a student of Speak University. I want to tell you thank you for that plug. Thank you for that affirmation. It feels good to know that the program is helping you. That's my hope, and I'll tell you right now, that's one of my biggest fears right now, because I am human, is disappointing people. So that's why it's so much packed into it. I want to make sure that everybody is loving it. Everybody is getting that transformation. So I want to tell you, thank you for that affirmation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you don't do it, then who will? If you have a passion for something, then what are you missing out on by not doing it? Are you going to regret it one day? Because like the real situation is, you will probably regret not doing it, but you won't regret doing it. And I found that to be so true so many times. Like, doing grad school full time while I was working full time and going to grad school at night. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, it's 2 years. And I remember my mom told me, and her best friend who had a master's in psychology that she wasn't using. She was a stay-at-home mom and homeschooled her kids. And she was like, Krista, I don't regret doing it. Do I use my degree? No. I use my degree in a different aspect, in different life situations, not as the world would say, it was a waste of your time because you're not working in the field. She was like, I'm working in the field every single day with my degree in raising the next generation. And so she was like, you're in a situation where you work for the state university and they're going to pay for part of the grad program. It's 2 years of your life, but do you think you will regret doing it? Or do you think you'll regret not doing it? And I am so glad I listened, because it was very hard. But I am so glad I did it, because it opened a door to opportunities that I didn't even know were there. And it opened my mind to knowledge that has changed my future and helped me build a consulting business because of the opportunities I had to conduct research abroad about business, like over business in China and international governance structures. And I have been able to sit on the forefront of things that I would have never been able to do. And that opportunity would be gone now, because 5 years later, I left the university. And so if I had not have done it, I wouldn't have been able to do it at the cost that I was able to. I wouldn't have been able to get the director position that I got the month after finishing grad school, that the president of the university offered to me. And if I hadn't have put myself in that position and just thought of what I have now, those pros and cons are not pros and cons. You don't even know what the pros are.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's easy to look at the cons, because until you step into a world, into a mindset that you were not before, you don't even know the possibilities. And mindset shifting has been something I've studied very deeply for 3 years now as I've changed my own life, but challenging my thoughts, challenging my beliefs every single time I want to say no, or I want to believe something just because I want to believe it. That person feels this way about me. Do you know that? Why don't you ask them? If you don't want to ask them, then let it go.
Yeah.
If you do want to ask them, then, hey, you might learn something new that you didn't realize. Miscommunications happen. People are human. Maybe they don't realize they're even doing what they did, because it's not all about you. Like, stepping into these situations instead of shutting them down every time I want to say no, saying yes, or is that true? Or is that a lie you're telling yourself? Is that something you want to believe? Are you willing to believe that might not be true?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What lie were you telling yourself when you were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say anything today on this live with Tony? What lie were you telling yourself?
That it wasn't going to be helpful and that I would be taking time away from someone else that could be speaking that might get more from me coming on to just talk about what I'm excited about.
Don't you feel good now that you got those fears? Now that you got those fears out?
I mean, my legs are shaking because it's terrifying.
Yeah, but you're doing
it
it
anyway, and I'm hoping that by sharing my story, someone else feels inspired to think, "Oh wow, I don't challenge my own beliefs. I put myself down a lot, or I look at what I didn't do instead of what I did. Do I beat myself down over that one little mistake, or do I look at the 99 things that worked perfectly?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to focus on the negative, but by focusing on the positive, I've really, really opened my world up to realize, holy cow, I didn't know what I didn't know. And until you look at the flip side, you won't be able to learn it either.
Yeah. Ah, that's awesome. And I love that. And again, I just wanted to tell you that was so freaking amazing. You posting what you did on social media. I thought that was super dope.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was just like, man, she's so bold. That is cool. I'll tell you, when I first started going to courses and stuff like that for public speaking, I didn't want nobody to know what I was doing. I wanted to, I hid behind it. Like, oh, I won't be good enough until I get done with this. But that's why we did design the course the way that we designed it, was so that you can have a community to do it. But instead of doing it just in the community, you did it outside. And I was just like, man, she is so bold. I was telling my wife, I was like, that was really cool. Like, I would have never been able to do that. I get nervous just thinking about it, especially when I first started, because I would listen to those doubts that I had when it came to speaking out. Right. That's why I started a podcast. I needed two people to do it with me initially. Right.
Right.
But thank you. I think that you're amazing. And I want to tell you, congratulations for everything that you're doing, and congratulations for everything that you're going to do, because you're doing some really cool stuff. And I'm super proud of you.
Well, I'm super grateful for you, Tony. And honestly, I only promote things that I am passionate about, that I believe in, and that I feel embody the highest quality of whatever niche that they are in. And I think that you are a person of integrity. I think you're passionate about what you do, and I think you offer a quality product that should be promoted. And so that's why I'm here studying under you, and I really, really am so grateful for you, because I think the mark of a true leader is two things. It's servant leadership, and it is people that others follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. And people that are here right now are here because they want to be. And that says something about you, and never forget it. So thank you for being the leader that you are, because it's only true leaders that others follow, not because they have to, and that sets them apart in such a powerful way. So thank you for everything that you do, because we wouldn't be on this call right now. I wouldn't be sharing the things that I've learned from you if you hadn't have said yes instead of no.
Thank you. I appreciate you for saying that. And I received that affirmation. For everybody that's listening to this, that's one thing that we need to do a little bit better with, I believe, is receiving those affirmations. If somebody tell you that you are amazing, you better receive it, because in this life, in this world, it is, I feel like, almost built to show you, or to make you believe or think that you're otherwise. If you look at social media, it's like, look at me and this and that. And you would not be human if you didn't fall into that trap. So I want to encourage you all to just receive love from people, because you're going to get both people hating and loving. And I want to tell everybody that's been listening to this, I love you. I appreciate you. This is so good. I think I'm going to take the recording and put it on my podcast. This is some really good stuff. Krista, I appreciate you. Jessica.
If you do that, please send it to me so I can share it on my social media as well, because I think that everything that was talked about, even the advice that you gave to the first woman who spoke, I loved what she had said. I don't remember the name of her business, but I looked
Hearts Barbecue.
So yes. Okay. And so
that's a commercial.
To add her, right? Here's some plugs. But I think that today was super helpful, and wow, what an hour that you had instead of, sitting back and watching Netflix when you had a break and a cancellation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For everybody that's listening, if you want to connect with me, you can send me a DM. Sometimes I don't get them all the time. My LinkedIn is a little weird. You can reach out to me. You can go to speakuniversity.org. I think there should be a link in this. If you want to connect with me, you want to be a part of my community that I'm just excited about. I was looking at this picture, and I was so inspired by seeing this picture. It was a steal from a video that I was capturing. It wasn't supposed to be anything big, but it was just the moment that I had when I realized that this would work. When I say this is the research that I've been telling you about, and that's the stuff that I put inside of the course that I have. This training is remarkable. I can't look at it without tearing up, because it takes me all the way back to the journey that I had when I decided that I was going to master my fear of public speaking. And it is such a blessing just to even watch from then to now, right? From then to now, you look at some of the videos, you can tell that even in that moment, like we recorded this in 2021, I was still working on mastering it, right? I was going through some freaking hardships like no other. It was like the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I was just trying to figure it out. And my son came to me, and in the middle of this epiphany that I was having, and he was just like, Dad, you need to package this stuff up, because if you're not speaking anymore full time, then, what are you going to do? You got to be able to, just trying to inspire me to do something else other than speak, because you can tell the toll that it was taking on me. It was crazy. Right. So I had this epiphany, when I was doing a project for school, and I was actually looking at this picture. It was a steal of me teaching some stuff from social media, and I was like, that's it, right? That's what I can do to kind of extend and serve more people. I can package this thing up into some really incredible training, something that's not like Toastmasters, right? Toastmasters, actually, if you're listening to this, Toastmasters, and you've been to Toastmasters, let me know with your comments. Let me know, like, when you get ready to share this later on, please share it if you can, because I'll be here until everybody jumps off. Right? I'm gonna try. But I was looking at me teaching this stuff, and there was this moment where I went back, and it was a steal. And I knew inside of my head, I was like, this is it. I was doing a presentation on like what I needed to do in order to get rid of my fear of public speaking. And I was taking them down the journey, and it was basically me like telling them my research. It was the rough draft. And I was like, this is it. This is my journey. And I was so inspired by this because what I was talking about was my mindset. And this is kind of some of the modules. Y'all can jump off if you want. I'm just going to talk to y'all a little bit about the training that I have. The modules you start off in is talking about your mindset. And what I'm doing is I'm basically setting the foundation for your transformation. Right? We're setting that foundation. I'm asking you questions like, where were you at when you first noticed that you had a fear of public speaking? How did it make you feel? What are you willing to do about it? Right? I'm asking you questions to get you in the mode of, where's your mindset? Is it fixed? Are you like, oh, kind of like how I was for a minute, I could just fly under the radar and not let anybody know that I had a fear of public speaking, and not let anybody know what my needs or what my wants were. I was so busy just worried about just serving other people. We do that as what I like to call introverts. I would try to think of another name for it because I think that we're so much more, but I was inwardly, I had these big ideas. I had these big thoughts, right? And I'm still talking about the modules inside of the course, but I'm just kind of giving you the backstory, right? I had a recruiter I talked to the other day. I just put it to you like this. And he's like, hey, I have friends that didn't think you knew how to talk. That's how quiet I was. It was bad. So bad. But I had to get this mindset. I had to look at what my purpose was. Right? And I had to really challenge myself. So if you're listening to this, I want you to really challenge yourself. And it doesn't necessarily mean training with me. I'm talking about whatever you got going on today. If you're getting ready to go into a meeting, what is like 1:38, y'all are probably on lunch. If you're getting ready to go back and do some work, if you're doing some sales, if you know that you need to connect with some people, I want to encourage you to connect with those people. Right? You don't have to really rush into it. It might sound scary sometimes. All right, I got some thumbs up. Y'all are resonating with this. That's good. Sometimes we got to know when our people are riding with us, right? But make those introductions. Do the things that you've been putting off. Okay? But you got to develop the mindset that that's what you're willing to do, and the mindset of that's what you're going to continue to do. Right? Something else that we talk about, I'm getting a little bit too deep. All right. Something else that we talk about in the course is awareness. Like, where are you at when it comes to public speaking? Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. Where are you at when it comes to public speaking? How strong are you? Right? I'm working with you to give you a roadmap to discover where you are versus where you're trying to be. Not anybody else, but you. And that is one of the superpowers that I really try to get out of you is, what is your strength, right? That we could pull out. It ain't going to magically just come out. I remember when, I'll give you a story really quick. When I was trying to get sponsors for the podcast, I would tag companies in certain posts that they would show me, or a certain post that I would see. I would tag them, and I would just hope and dream that they would reach out to me to endorse my podcast. I feel embarrassed just saying it. But that's one thing that we tend to do as people, as humans, is we think that the universe is just going to bring it to us. Don't get me wrong. I believe in all of that stuff too. But it's more than just the universe. You have to be willing to walk towards the universe before it's going to bring anything to you. Right? So you got to know where that's at. So that's the awareness piece. Execution. We talk about you actually doing things. Y'all saw Krista get up here, and she's doing exactly the stuff that we talk about. What are you willing to do in that moment to execute? That's one thing that I learned from being in the military and learning from an environment that I would say is extremely extroverted by nature. You almost have to be an extrovert to some sort to survive in the military. Speaking of which, I even got one of my buddies. I think he's an extrovert. He says that he's an introvert. Johnny Walker, he's the owner of Holocell Technologies. He just texted me right now. He's actually a sponsor of the show. But I'm just really intrigued by people like him, right? He was in the military. He's really hard in the exterior, but once you get inside of him, he's really soft and he opens up to you even more. Really amazing person. I love studying that, right? So yeah, that's what you get in the course. I teach you how to prepare. I teach you how to sustain that. And I teach you what I like to call legacy mode. And that's all wrapped up in one course. Legacy mode is you teaching the people. Legacy mode is you starting your podcast. I got some folks that have went through this training that have started podcasts that have way surpassed mine. I gave them all the game that I can give them on not just public speaking, but using your voice to really go into legacy mode. What are you going to leave behind? What can you create? What's something really amazing that you can create? And I truly believe that having the podcast, having some outlet, some medium is the art that we leave when it's all said and done. Our last act, because I know when I'm gone, I know that my kids are going to be listening to this and it's going to remain forever. And to me, that's what legacy is. And that's why I'm doing this course. I can't even really talk about it without thinking about the heartaches, thinking about the struggles, thinking about the mountains that had to be climbed in order to get to this point, to get to this moment, to be able to pour into people, to have them doing the things that they're doing. I've never done a TEDx, but we got students doing them. It's so incredible. I'm so inspired by our community. And again, I would love for you to join this community. If you want to learn more, you want some more details, reach out to me at speakuniversity.org. If you have a situation that comes up, whether it's a meeting, interview, or presentation, I'm your guy. Reach out to me and I'll support you. And that's without even joining our community, anything like that. That's something that I love to do. Quick story. My wife would tell you when I was going through trying to master my fear of public speaking, it would be really hard for me. But one thing that helped me get through those moments, through the interviews, all the boards that I had to go through when I was in the Marine Corps, all the challenges that I had to face, but actually having somebody behind me, that was a secret ingredient. Right. And I'm biased with that point of my research. I'm incredibly biased by it. I believe in community. I have a mentor that says there's unity and community. And I believe that. So reach out to me at speakuniversity.org. Don't go to .com. That's some dude that's pretending to be like me or pretending to be me. But it's been amazing. And I will catch y'all later.
Fear is not a weakness. It's a sign you're pushing yourself to new limits. Rise above it. Face it head on and let it fuel your determination to rise to new heights. Show the world that you are unbreakable, unstoppable, unyielding, and remember, together we are resilient.
Cavalry calling us first. You gotta put on your dreams, but you gotta learn how to lead. All the times of doubt and telling myself that I wasn't great, but wait, bigger the plate, the bigger the stakes is raised. I know that I'm dealing my fate. I know that I'm dealing my fate. I know that I'm running on faith. I know that I'm working so hard. No time for the games. I do what it takes. I need to make mistakes.
Look like we still got people in the building.
Are you a podcaster looking to take your show to the next level? Want your audio to shine like never before? Look no further. Introducing the ultimate podcast mixing and master services brought to you by Rich Life Entertainment. My name is Jay, owner and audio engineer at Rich Life Entertainment, and I'm dedicated to making your podcast sound professional, engaging, and unforgettable. With years of experience in audio engineering, I will transform your raw recordings into a polished masterpiece. I'll enhance your sound quality, balance audio levels, and eliminate any background noise. But that's not all. I offer a range of services to suit your needs. Whether you're looking for a quick audio cleanup, full mixing and mastering, or even custom sound design and music production, I've got you covered. Head to richlifeent.com to get your quote today. Rich Life Entertainment, where your podcast potential becomes reality.
Oh man, Rich ENT. Hey, let me tell you about them. They do all of our editing, anything that deals with audio on our podcast. Man, I'm so inspired by Jay. The work that they are doing is incredible, and I approve of them 100%, man. Oh man, I'm so inspired by all of our folks that are still here in the building, still rocking with me. Like I said, you can go to www.speakuniversity.org if you want to connect with me even further. Yes. Get some hearts in the building. Zeno Harris says, great show. I would love to come on. You had the opportunity. Oh, amazing. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. She said Tony is so vulnerable. No, no, I am not a natural. No. All right, I'll be back.
So glad that I ran into Speak University. Tony Taylor is one of the most inspirational people I've met. He really cares about his clients. He wants us to succeed. He listens and doesn't judge. I was in a situation where I really feared public speaking, which I had not been like before, any more than normal. And I was freezing on Zoom meetings. I felt like a failure. I felt like I was never going to be able to do this again. My confidence was eroded. I just needed help. So along came Tony and Speak University. I cannot tell you enough. I sat in on his imposter syndrome session, and it started to sound really familiar. And after I started reflecting a little bit, I was like, the light bulb went off. Aha, that's me. I'm having imposter syndrome, and I need to fix it. And more importantly, I can fix it. And people like Tony, who are out there giving it their all, giving up their time, are there to help. And I've already gotten so much better, and I'm going to be taking his 6-week class that starts on March 4th. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to working with Tony, and I know I can do this. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next week. Thank you for allowing me to travel with you on your journey. I want to say thank you for the things that you're doing, the things that you've done, and the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something truly amazing. Remember, I'm here to stand by you as you chase your dreams, lead with greatness, and continue to make a difference. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. I'll see you next time on Leaders Lead the Podcast. Peace.